everybody, and welcome to episode 35 of Huell's Gold. I'm Alan.
I'm Chris.
And you have something about Kevin Starr? What is this?
Well, if you remember the Golden Gate Bridge episode,
Yep.
I was quoting his book a lot, and he's like one of my favorite historians, like California historians, and I've only ever seen him on video once in a college class, some documentary we were watching, and I was just going through some, because remember I also told you that I watched all the California's Gold episodes. I didn't go through all the like clip shows or whatever, the 100 levels. And I was just like, I'm bored. I don't have any Huell to watch. I'll just see what's on him. And lo and behold, the Gold special is just all the episodes that have anything to do with literal metal gold. And then Kevin Starr just walks right in the frame with his bow tie.
That's crazy.
Well, he didn't have a bow tie. He had a golden, like, regular tie.
Like a cowboy
A bolo tie? No. No. But basically, he's just historically breaking down all the different things that happened on prior episodes. So, the gold discovery in Coloma, Sutter's Mill, all that stuff. He just he's basically watching the episodes with Huell, breaking it down, saying, oh, well, this is what it's really like. Only he's got this low, deep, Andre the Giant kind of a voice. No, actually, blah, blah, blah. But it's cool because you can tell that Huell knows who he is, like beyond just meeting him right there, and he's like pretty into him. Because he was the California State Librarian at the time.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know what that job would entail, but
It sounds important.
yeah. Either way, it just goes to show you that even though I watched all the episodes, I didn't really...
There's always a piece of gold.
There's always more. Speaking of gold, what kind of gold do we got in this one?
We have some World War II gold.
Yes. It's a weird episode, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, yes. But, again, this is Huell making something pretty significant.
I'm sure to the people involved, this stuff was significant.
Oh, I have no doubt.
Because, I mean, World War II, it's a bit, like, removed from us generationally. Like, do you know of any family of yours that was in that war?
World War II?
Yeah.
No.
Closest I got is, like, Korea.
Our across the street neighbor. It's one of those guys that wears the hat.
Oh, okay.
All the time.
Yeah.
He was about, because he was like 20. Anyways, I'm just ranting now, but he's like 20-something years older than my parents, so.
That would be about right. Yeah, my grandpa was in the Korean War, but that was like a decade and a half later, so.
Yeah.
It's hard to really, conceptualize what this war really felt like to people. The Ken Burns documentary. Speaking of, another thing. I was flipping through those other 100 episodes, like the 100 level episodes, and I figured that all the Yosemite ones that I was reading about, like, oh, those are probably just... Because the hour-long ones are usually like 2 30-minute ones buttoned together. Mm-hmm. One of them wasn't. Turns out... Do you ever watch those Ken Burns documentaries? Not a one ever?
Just one. No, I have watched one.
Yeah. Which one?
The American West.
Okay. Yeah. That's a good one. The National Parks one is pretty good.
Haven't caught that one.
Caught it. They're like 20-hour-long documentaries. Anyway, there's a guy from Yosemite who speaks super kind of spiritually, like having spiritual
orientations.
Orientation? No, experiences in the park and all this stuff. And I always wondered, like, I wonder if Huell ever tracked him down. I'm watching one of the episodes. There's that dude.
And this will be the last thing before we jump in, but you mentioned flipping through California's Gold. Mm-hmm. Wasn't there a Kickstarter or something that would allow people to flip through?
the Kickstarter that we mentioned last week. That's been a huge deal in the Huell-verse.
I think it's because we mentioned it. It was fully funded this week.
It sure was. Early, in fact. It was funded a few days before the deadline, and now it's like even a couple $1,000s over. So they're getting that extra. But it's cool because a lot of people were into it. And thing is, though, I have full faith in KCET. They obviously have never let us down as far as providing Huell entertainment for the masses.
Mm-hmm.
I've donated to a number of Kickstarters. None of them ever actually finished the projects that they started. And
I'm the same. I have bad experience as well. Well, not a bad experience because it was completed 3 years later.
You want to say what it was?
It was the Biblioteca, like
that book thing you were showing.
The Bible series.
Yeah.
Separating them, and it was a cool idea. Oh yeah, let's support it. Mm-hmm. I mean, granted, this is the thing. He was 10 times, 12 times overfunded.
Oh,
so it was a crazy situation going on.
Yeah, what do you do at that point?
Apparently scramble. Let's try to figure it out. I don't know.
Yeah, one of the other ones that I donated to was to get this documentary about Kurt Vonnegut finished. A guy had been working on it prior to Vonnegut's death. He couldn't get it together. He got all this funding. They did all the gifts or whatever they call it, prizes. Mm-hmm. I don't know. And we're still waiting. I get updates like once a month. We're working. Okay.
So, well, you know what? Actually, we pitched in for the U-turn audio, the turntable.
That's right. Yes.
And that was you know what? Maybe I should stop being so negative. That was a success, and that was relatively on time. So, anyways, all that
you
to say,
have that record player sitting in your house right now. So
it's true.
Anyway,
playing all the Bakersfield punk.
Yeah. We blabbered on about this, but we're glad that the Kickstarter's it's funded, it's ready. And I'm in contact with KCET. I'm going to ask them for updates so that we can update you, the loyal Huell's Gold listeners.
Yep. We have a direct line to their red phone.
Yep.
So we'll know.
But you need to know what the heck we're doing this week.
Right.
And so let's let Huell do that like he always does.
The Long Beach Naval Shipyard in Southern California is a busy place. All kinds of work being done on Navy ships of all sizes. But we didn't visit the shipyard to see a ship. We were there to see something larger than a ship. Something very historic that dates all the way back to World War II.
So that clip told us about nothing about what is actually happening here, because I don't know why Huell wanted to be really secretive about what was going on, because even the cold open, when we first started up, Huell is kind of... He's obviously in front of some ship, and he's talking about World War II. He says they're in the Long Beach Naval Shipyard. And then they just cut into the interview. And, I guess it's up to us to tell you what the heck Huell is here for.
So I guess we will.
We're here for the YD-171.
That's right. Big crane.
It's a big old crane.
Well, how about this intro before we get to the crane, though?
Oh, the theme?
Yeah. Well, my notes here, I thought I put down Joseph Skeeter.
No.
It's Joseph Streeter. Capital JS, right? Is that what it stood for in front of his name?
No, I think it's Corporal.
It's obviously a joke if that didn't come across.
I actually looked him up, and he's been in Marine bands as a drum major, as just a player for what looks like most of his life, or like his career anyway. He is totally 100% in the Marine band world. There's been articles on him doing what he's been doing. The most compelling one was about... it was unclear if he was part of the return parade, like meaning he was returning from the Gulf War, or if he was just playing for the returning soldiers of the Gulf War, because that was kind of the first time soldiers came back home since Vietnam, and that didn't really go over so well.
Right.
And so it was talking about how much better of an experience that was in comparison.
That's cool.
So it's cool to like learn a little bit about these guys that we're just seeing blown in a horn.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, Huell just called him up. Hey, Joe, can you toot our theme this week?
Yeah,
like, sure.
on which instrument? That's the trumpet.
Yeah, trumpet tutor.
Back to our honest-to-goodness piece of history here.
Is that what he called it?
That's what he called it.
I mean, he ain't lying. This thing's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole basis of this first segment is about this giant crane. And I guess we first get to hear about why this is such a big deal from old Bud Miller. What do you think of old Bud?
No nonsense kind of guy.
Totally.
He's he's approximating our uniform.
Yeah, it's definitely like a starter kit. Like,
it's just like the casual version.
The oddest thing about the interview with Bud, which all his information, golden, very easy to kind of understand what he's saying. He doesn't, no nonsense, like he said, is that he's got the lapel mic, but Huell also has got the handheld mic at him. So you can hear him very well in this interview.
It's a beautiful mix.
Yeah. But basically, he's telling us about this giant crane that is at the Long Beach Naval Shipyard. And the craziest thing about it is that we totally took it from Germany after the war.
Well, he referred to it as war booty?
Yeah. Like, I didn't think that was a real thing. Like, I know there were lots of different sanctions and things that happened to Germany. Obviously, they split Berlin in half after the war, but straight up just like, oh, you lost. Give us that.
We want big crane.
Yeah. And they took it. And that's what and then it was brought to Long Beach.
Well, didn't they name it? They gave it an old name, right?
Oh, you don't think YD-171 is good enough?
Doesn't roll off the tongue.
Okay. How about Herman the German?
Ooh. That's right on the money.
Yeah. Oh, man. But Bud hands the reins over to JP.
Big JP. And you notice that he passed the reins directly over Silent Jim back there. He has the most legit uniform on.
Dude, okay. Let's wait on that.
Okay.
JP is our full-fledged uniform. Like, he's kind of got this like casual version of it because he's got like the untucked, first button unbuttoned, kind of Hawaiian-y, like Tommy Bahama shirt.
Yeah.
Something my stepdad would wear on a Sunday. And glasses case with a name tag, so you know he means business.
Mm-hmm.
And he's kind of given us the lowdown on how this crane, because the crane is 374 feet tall.
That's from tip to water, right?
Yeah. So this is a gigantic thing, and it was kind of like towed all the way over across the ocean. And there used to be how many? 4 of these things?
I don't remember the number.
Yeah, I think it was 4. 2 of them sank in the English Channel because England got 2 of them and they whoopsied them into the channel.
Whoopsied them?
Yeah. Both of them just straight up sank. So they're at the bottom of the channel. There's another one at the time, I think it was in Africa somewhere, being used somewhere over there.
Wow.
And then this one, Herman the German. And then we kind of just get to, because all this time we're just looking at it from the outside. Then they take us inside.
Besides the uninformative safety sign for electricity,
yeah,
it's pretty.
I like that. There's like that electricity symbol on the like breaker box or whatever, and Huell says, "Oh, that's the German symbol for electricity." Like, I think that transcends languages, Huell. But either way, what did you call the Silent Bob?
Silent Jim.
Silent Jim. Yeah, Silent Bob is an actual character. Silent Jim, he's there the whole time. Obviously, okay. Bud, JP, they're both former employees of the shipyard. And then old Silent Jim, I think he's like a current employee, and he's having to show him.
But he's sort of, yeah.
Because he's there, like, kind of behind in every shot. Dude, Bud, at about 6 minutes, 26 seconds, is so just relaxed talking about the counterweight. And, oh, man, he's good. That's a good shirt, too. That, like, polo, but with the stripes.
Solid
80s
top.
style. Yeah. Silent Jim, okay. He has a hard hat, as Alan said. He's got the uniform in its, like, what I wrote down is it's the Super Saiyan of the costume. Because he's got the button-up shirt and 2 glasses holders, one in each pocket.
And he's busting out of the left one.
Dude. Because it's not just the glasses holder. He's got... Well, it's funny because he's got the glasses holder, but...
He got like a field notes book in there.
And then his name tag, probably a checkbook. He is... They all have these...
He looks like the guy from No Country for Old Men.
The Javier Bardem character?
Yeah.
Who was like the murderer?
I don't think he's that.
No, I'm sure he's not that actual fictional character, but
yeah.
He does have a very unique look about him. But once they're inside, they're looking at the main kind of control room. They go down to the captain's quarters. And Huell is really into this. Like, I think he's more of a World War II history buff than we realize. Because he's really kind of like getting into the whole vibe of it all down here. Because we're just seeing the old master's quarters, the bed and the...
Which, and he really enjoyed that it was the original version of that. But what do you... Okay. So there's a bit when they're going back upstairs, and Huell kind of does this whole thing like, kind of looks around and says, I keep seeing things.
Oh, yeah. That's a quick little throwaway thing. You think he's like feeling the ghosts of World War II past?
I think so, yeah.
Because keep in mind, this was a German crane. So this was helping build ships and U-boats, as it's mentioned, to fight the U.S. So these are not captains for the U.S. Army. These are Nazis.
Yeah, which is funny because we bombed the ship and then had to repair it.
The crane.
Oh, the crane, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. Like 4 different times. We bombed it. Like blew half of it up. And then we get it and we're like, oh, this is so valuable. We're going to ship it across the ocean, fix it, and then build ships with it for like 50 years. So it's pretty awesome. And we really get the real proof that this was straight up Nazi crane with that anchor. This is one of the weirder things you're going to see on California's
One of the weirdest, yeah.
It's a swastika.
It looks like a child carved it into a... No, not a child, but like a 14-year-old.
Yeah, because it's like the Iron Eagle swastika logo, but it's been carved by hand and painted into this giant anchor. But they didn't want to cover that up or like scratch it off.
I guess not.
And then Louis has like a 45-second shot of the swastika. Either way, it is pretty interesting that this thing is...
Well, there's a bit of that, too. When Huell says, this is a swastika. Right? He gives it, and he's kind of pointing at it. And he says, wow, there's probably all kinds of this original kind of stuff. Like, he never says it again. You only get one out of him.
Yeah. Old JP, he's got like a handful of other German things in his hand, and they don't ever talk about it. I wish we knew what those were, because... I don't know. There must have been more like weird things.
Was it like a PG&E bill?
Yeah. What? I don't know.
Anyway. Well, before we go, did you notice that there was a lull in the conversation with Bud and JP toward the end there.
Oh, yeah.
And this is one of the classic Huell saves. He says, yeah, it survived. And then he gets the idea. It's a survivor. And he brings it back, and JP and Bud both agree. And it turned into a great ending instead of an awkward lull.
Yeah.
So
Huell was getting better at this point because he's a couple years in. He realizes that not everyone is going to be able to kind of like keep the conversation going. Because in these early episodes, a lot of times he just would put the microphone in someone's face and let it go. And just let that person keep having to continue the talk. And Huell just kind of staring at them, waiting for, I don't know what. It's kind of awkward.
This was a good save, though.
Totally.
So, yeah.
Because in the later episodes, he's able to keep conversations going for like 10, 15 minutes with no real lull in any of it. Okay, so I gotta update on old Herman, though.
What's going on?
So this was 1993, because we're in the third season, 1993. Within 6 years, the Long Beach Naval Shipyard was closed. We didn't need to make any destroyers anymore, I guess. We're done. So they were like, oh, what are we going to do with this thing? They just sold it. Like, all that work, fixing it, bringing it over, using it for 50 years.
Do you know who they sold it
Get
to?
It over here. I don't know exactly who, because I don't know the whole politics of the Panama Canal, but that's where it is now.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Because I guess the Panama Canal built in the early 1900s, the big heavy lift crane that they have been using to kind of like lift stuff up and out of the canal if ever there needs to be like a ship or whatever. It's like the original crane from the building of the canal. So that thing's like almost 100 years old, and they're like, "Oh man, get that Herman the German down here." But they don't call it Herman the German anymore.
Why not? Is it because of the secret population in South America?
Oh, dang. I didn't even put that together. No, they just call it the Titan.
I was waiting for a juicy story.
No, I mean, there were lots of, runaway Nazis in South America, but Panama Canal's in Central America.
I know it's in Central America, but
it is close.
It's very, very close. Yeah.
No, I think he wanted more to it than that.
Yeah.
They just bought it and use it. That's it.
Okay.
But that's about it for old Herman. And we need to switch gears. We need to get somewhere else. Get out of Long Beach. Huell,
put it in fifth gear. Let's head north.
Hit it, Huell.
To reach our next destination, we headed north up Highway 101 to the unincorporated community of Goleta, which is just north of Santa Barbara on the Central Coast. Once in Goleta, we went to the Sandpiper Golf Course to meet up with our local welcoming committee. And then we all climbed aboard electric carts and headed out across this beautiful course for the beach. A beach where over 50 years ago, history was made in a big way.
So this was another clip that didn't say anything.
Nope.
I don't know what the deal is, Huell. Like, you're being super secretive this week. But don't worry. We got you covered.
We are in Goleta.
I didn't know it was an unincorporated community.
Me neither. And I always thought it was west of Santa Barbara, not north. But
shows what you know.
Look at that.
So we're at the Sandpiper Golf Course. Like, Huell's going for a quick 18 holes.
Yeah. Well, I guess if it was west, it would be in the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on the sand. I thought it was San, like S-A-N, Piper. I was really franching that up.
Like Saint Piper? No, Sandpiper, the bird.
Yeah, Sandpiper, golf course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What, after a short cruise on some golf carts?
Well, electric carts, he called them.
Oh, electric carts, okay.
He had to differentiate. These aren't gas-powered.
Oh, okay. Well, after we ride these electric carts, we are on the beach and right in the historic spot, right?
Yeah, and again, we'll let you know what's up, because Huell didn't. This was which we're all hearing this from Justin. How are you going to say his last name? Ruhge.
Rouge.
I'm saying Rouge.
Rouge.
Moulin
that sounds
Rouge.
Cool. Yeah, I like that. Justin Moulin Rouge.
Who is with the Goleta Valley Historical Society, which I looked up because, we're members of our historical society here in Kern County. Their site looks almost exactly the same as ours.
Yeah.
But they have a few more events going on than we do.
I think they own some sort of property where you can rent it, right?
Yeah, because their main kind of claim to fame is this historic house that they've renovated and use as kind of like a venue, but also like a historical museum-ish type thing.
Mm-hmm. But
they have events. Like, they sponsor events, and the next one is the Old Time Fiddlers Fest, October 13th and 14th. We're bluegrass fans. We like these bluegrass themes we get. We should... Yeah. You want to go?
When is it? October?
13th, 14th. No?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
I'm down. I was thinking.
Putting you on the spot.
I got nothing going on.
Yeah. Either way, Justin's telling us about an event that happened here. This is a pretty big thing.
This is a big thing, yes.
Before we get going on what it is, we're teasing big time. Does Justin look like anyone to you?
A young Harvey Huell?
Right on the money. Yes. Our late, great former mayor, Harvey Huell, looks just like Justin Rouge, but 20 years ago. Which, yes. This was 20 years ago, so he probably looks like Harvey Huell now.
What if this is his doppelganger? Just right over the hill.
Never knew it.
I never knew. Well,
what is this event? We teased it too much.
The event that happened?
Yeah.
Oh, the Japanese submarine shot 26 rounds of 5.5-inch shells toward not the refinery, but it was like the
oil tank.
The oil tank, the whole oil operation that was going on.
Because that's what was going on just north of Santa Barbara. Was Goleta was a big oil production and pumping area.
Still sort of.
Yeah.
There's still drilling going on.
But it looks like it was all up on the beach itself.
Yeah, no, it is crazy looking.
And this Japanese submarine just came and started shooting the place up. Which I had never heard of before. And apparently that was the first time the U.S. was attacked by a foreign power, or had been attacked by a foreign power since the War of 1812. Yeah.
Right? And the first time the West Coast has ever been.
That's scary,
What I thought was funny, and this is kind of jumping forward to get to this point, but when Carlo, because he was there, was talking about, basically they were attacked, and did I hear this right? They armed themselves.
Yeah.
And they were going to act like they were the military.
Mm-hmm.
Which, the way he tells it is hilarious. They all start laughing because they had no idea what to do. That's what you got from it, right?
Yeah. Basically, because there's the second guy here, this floral shirt wearing guy. He kind of,
which his shirt is cool now again.
Totally, with his gold watch. He's got a very of the times look right now.
Mm-hmm.
Then and now.
Just drink some wine, eat some steak on State Street.
Yeah. He was 14 years old when this attack happened. And he's kind of telling his version of the story. He lived nearby, heard some racket, went out, saw the flashes of the gun, and told of the kind of fake militia that they brought up. Because there were no troops there. They weren't thinking that this needed to be defended.
Well, we have things now that would mobilize, but...
Yeah.
Most
of them were gone.
What he described is how I imagine how Californians would arm themselves today. It's like,
we gotta pretend real quick. It's funny though because this whole big hoopla about this is the first time since War of 1812 that the U.S. had been attacked. Keep in mind, Pearl Harbor had just happened 2 months before that, and you'd think like, oh wait, well that's Hawaii. Why doesn't that count? Hawaii wasn't a state yet. So, even though Pearl Harbor itself was probably designated as American soil, being an army base and all that, or was it Navy? Air Force? Armed Forces Base.
I'd imagine.
Well,
For Navy.
Yeah. Well, in Pearl Harbor, I think that was they were blowing up ships. I don't know. I only saw the movie once. I don't know.
And Josh Hartnett. So.
Yes. Anyway, well, during the time that Carlo Botiani was talking about his experiences there, they showed some old newsreel footage of the event and everything. And my favorite part of that was they are talking about one of the craters that's there, and it's big enough to destroy a Jeep. And to prove that, they had to drive a Jeep into it. And I don't think that was really necessary, other than it was I thought of it as some sort of defiant act, oh, you're going to try and do it? Look, we'll just drive right over the craters. We don't care.
Boom.
But
speaking of the crater, though.
Crater, yeah.
That's insane how big. Think about 5.5 inches around.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know.
Well, we don't have to really imagine.
Well, because the next place to go, it's a good transition.
Yeah. Because we're heading just a few miles down the road. Huell, where are we going?
Well, it turns out this amazing event had one more element to it. So next, we drove a couple of miles directly inland from the golf course to the Embarcadero Ranch to get the scoop firsthand.
So third time, Huell straight up, if you were just listening to these clips, you have no idea what this episode is about.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, we're going to the Embarcadero Ranch, which no context as to what that really is or was then.
Nope.
Ranch, obviously,
yeah.
Okay.
It's okay, yeah.
But we're hanging out with little Ruth. Ruth Pratt. Now, this is okay. Gonna be delicate about this. Ruth, obviously, maybe had been in an accident a little while before this shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, maybe she was in a lawsuit with the insurance company. Because she has one of those I'm suing neck brace things on. Not like the one that you'd actually see a doctor give someone, but a TV show version.
Yeah.
And maybe that's all they had back then. I don't know.
Well, I think there's an episode of Mama's House where she wears that.
That's what do you go? Every sitcom had this neck brace.
Dude, okay, I watched a lot of sitcoms growing up.
What, on Nick at Night?
No, it was on TBS.
Okay, let me make sure I'm thinking of the right thing. Mama's House?
Yeah.
With Vicki Lawrence? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mama's Family.
Mama's Family.
It's saying it right, and you're showing me. Look, it says Mama's Family. That's why I was kind of confused. What?
Wait,
Mama's House?
Yeah, but you knew what it was.
Was this some UPN show I didn't know about?
So there is one bit that I really appreciate about Ruth. First of all, she's straightforward.
Totally.
Second of all, she is holding a disposable Kodak camera
and
using her middle finger to point at stuff.
Okay, we got to set the stage of why we're here. I guess old Ruthie was just hanging out, but she was just hanging out as a kid, also kind of like old Carlo was, and heard and saw the commotion. And one of these shells, these 5.5 inchers, shot over up by her house.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a dud, thankfully. Otherwise, you could think oh, this thing blew up and it caused her permanent neck damage, and that's why she's wearing the neck brace. But no, it didn't blow up. Okay, so that's...
Wait, that was... No, the way I understood it was she put the kids to bed. She wasn't young. She was younger.
Is that what was that?
Yeah, because that's her daughter. That's her daughter.
Oh, yeah, Deborah is there kind of telling the story of the fact that the Army took it, right?
Yep.
That's what happened. The Army took it, sent it to Washington to study it, to kind of see how their shells worked. And I can't believe this, but the dad, who doesn't seem to be there, or is that who Godwin is? Is that the dad?
No, I think that's her husband, and the dad's rest in peace.
Okay, that's what I kind of thought too. The dad, who they don't mention by name, is like insisting that the army give this back.
This would never happen today.
How? Like straight up, no. Just you don't get it now. For one, it's a big old piece of ammunition. Like, people shouldn't be owning these things at all. It's a thing that a tank shoots. And then the best interaction of the whole show, for sure, is old Godwin.
Oh, yeah.
Because Huell's like trying to level with this guy. Like, don't you think that the army should have this? It shouldn't be sitting by your fireplace? And dude, Godwin, the Japanese gave it to us. It's mine. And it's like so defiant. It's mine. Huell loves it. He loves how would you describe Godwin? Cantankerous?
That's perfect, yes.
This whole family, I like these Peliceros. Some
I'm guessing
spicy
there
Italians.
aren't many Peliceros still in the Goleta Valley. What do you think?
I'll bet they still have that ranch and they're just holding on to it for dear life. They've been offered millions for it. Should we look it up? Let's look it up.
Okay.
Hold on, let's look it up.
This is amazing.
All right, so there's a lot more information about this area than I would have imagined.
What do we got?
It's like hundreds of years of history on the goletahistory.com website. But basically it looks like the owners, who I'm assuming are the Peliceros, were like they sold it kinda sorta in hopes to kind of cash in on the development. But then the Santa Barbara City Council was like shutting them down as of 2011. But then I'm seeing a real estate site that's saying that they represent the Embarcadero Ranch sale of over 80 properties in the area. So I don't know if it's the actual ranch itself or the nearby areas around the golf course or what, but looks like old Debbie and Godwin, they might have got their payday.
I guess we'll just have to keep up with it. I don't know.
The least important thing. The other thing that was mentioned by Carlo and Ruth was double daylight savings time.
Yes.
Did you look into this at all?
I did not.
Okay, I did a lot. Because this is the first time I've ever heard of this happening. I guess it first started in England as a practice. And from what I read, England was not on their normal, like within their normal time zone throughout the whole war. Like they just were screwing with their clocks. So that there was always either lots of sunlight or they would change it so that it would be dark earlier for these kind of like blackout points when people would need to be inside. Because they were blacking out all lights so that the German planes wouldn't know where to bomb.
Oh, I see.
But it happened in the U.S. too. And according to what I was reading, it made it sound like it was just daylight savings time all year round. But then Ruth said it was a double 2-hour difference. So like in February, it was still light at 7 p.m. or like twilight time. Which kind of would make sense. Like February, you're already like deep into the daylight savings time. It's dark at like 5 o'clock.
Yeah, that's true, huh?
I can't even imagine.
It's just funny that it makes it sound like they change how the sun produces, light on Earth.
But it's not.
It's not. It's just messing around.
Yeah. But speaking of messing around, we messed around a lot during this episode. And it's time to call it quits. This one was...
I called it insignificant at the beginning, and that was too strong.
Yeah.
So it was just, things that you didn't think you can spend 25 minutes on.
Well, that's kind of the basis of this whole show.
Right.
Both Huell's and ours. But it is pretty seemingly insignificant in the eyes of the Santa Barbara area because the only sort of like remembrance that they have about this is one little small plaque on a rock at the golf course. Even though this area near Goleta or in Goleta was the only time that the U.S. soil, like the actual mainland, was attacked.
Yeah.
You think?
It is crazy.
Yeah. No wonder Huell wanted to go here. But we're wrapping it up for this week. Do you know where we're going next week?
I do. We are going to the one and only Flat Earth test site on the West Coast, Amboy.
That's not
California.
what the episode's about.
No.
But that's like currently, yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, Amboy. This episode is going to be a trip.
Yeah.
Like, this is some weird kind of deserty folk going on
These
here.
are the most fun, though. These
Oh,
desert
for
episodes.
Sure. Yeah. Huell obviously felt a real kind of pull to the desert. He lived there for a good chunk of his life. I don't know how much time he spent in either Palm Springs or L.A., but, I mean, he owned 2 houses out there in the desert. So,
Yeah, that's true.
either way, that's going to be a good one. But, okay.
Well, I think this was a good one.
This was. It definitely isn't, like, visually exciting, but not all of them are, and that's not really what it's about. It's about the history and the stories. But speaking of history, this is the first time in history that we got a straight up, like, huge star singing our outro music this week. It's old Bing Crosby.
Oh, yes, the Bond song.
What do you think about that song?
It's... I don't know.
I'm going to play it because it's free and clear.
It's interesting as a historical.
Exactly, yeah. Because I was reading about it, and it's considered part of this period in which Hollywood decided to kind of get behind the war effort.
Yeah.
And it was the first time they were really realizing their power as an influence on the population. So Bing Crosby singing about buying war bonds and how that, like, oh, you can't fight in the war yourself. It's okay. You can still do your part and give us money. That's how it works, right?
As if the taxes weren't enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's an expensive war.
That's
and
true.
We had to pay for all those tanks and everything. So
Yeah, dude. So true.
Well, on that note, let's get the heck out of here, and let's hear Bing sing us out with the Bond song. And we hope you come along with us next week and every week as we continue our search for Huell's Gold.
Buy a bond, and by, the bonds you buy will bring you victory. Buy a bond, and you'll be standing by the victory arch when Johnny comes marching home again. Oh, you should need no request, for after all, you know that you're investing in the best. Till the lads come back again, back the old attack again. Buy bond. This is no time to say you've done enough. This is the time to really do your stuff. And even if you can't be a soldier in the ranks, you can be the guy to help supply the guns and planes and tanks.
This ought to be in the Smithsonian or something, instead of in front of your fireplace.
Mine? The Japanese gave it to us, didn't they? It's mine.
Yeah.